This message is solely for the chosen one, the individual walking a true, divinely illuminated path, whose spirit carries a mark that transcends the ordinary. If you find yourself merely playing games with spiritual concepts or wandering through life without clear direction, you're advised to discontinue reading now. However, if you are genuinely one of God's appointed, then pay close attention, for this message has reached you at the precise moment your soul needed confirmation and upliftment. Understand that nothing, absolutely nothing, that occurs in your life happens by mere chance or coincidence. What you are about to absorb into your spirit is intended to radically open your perception and fortify your spiritual core in ways you may not have anticipated or expected. The unseen pressure, a soul's whisper, chosen one. You've likely been noticing a sense of unusual heaviness lately, a peculiar and persistent pressure in the air that seems to cling to your immediate environment. You may have found yourself pondering why your energy reserves abruptly deplete at seemingly random intervals, why your periods of rest and sleep feel less restorative or profoundly disturbed, and why your deepest spirit senses an unspoken, unsettling movement occurring just beyond the veil of the physical world. This very message arrives as a direct confirmation of the whispers your soul has been conveying to you. It's here to validate that a deliberate attempt was made to direct dark or negative energy toward your being. The core truth is this: it will not work. And by the time you reach the conclusion of this deeply personal message, you will possess a complete understanding of why God Himself has already erected an insurmountable barrier, completely nullifying the intended impact of this attack. Before we dive into the deeper spiritual mechanics, please take a moment to engage with this community. Share your immediate thoughts and feelings in the comments below, and type the number 777 as a sacred declaration to claim your absolute divine protection right now. Furthermore, ensure you subscribe to this spiritual channel. Activate the notification bell, and consider sharing this essential message with others who you know are walking their own consecrated journey with God. Stay with me until the very end. Your life is not just on the verge of change. It is about to powerfully shift into its next phase of elevation. Dear chosen one, are you currently traversing your dedicated path with God, but feeling a persistent sense of isolation or a lack of definitive guidance? Do you feel profoundly alone, wondering inwardly why this experience of separation might be a necessary part of your divine curriculum? We have meticulously built a sacred community specifically tailored for the 144,000 chosen souls, a place where you can access premium spiritual videos, receive daily, insightful newsletters, and learn potent prayer techniques designed to foster a much deeper, more profound connection with the divine. Within this space, you can also explore insightful blog posts and receive complimentary spiritual ebooks to further enrich and clarify your chosen journey. It's intended to be your reliable guidepost for navigating the path of God and cultivating a life rich in authentic faith and divine wisdom. Over 1,000 brothers and sisters have already embraced this haven, so don't hesitate to secure your daily guidance. Check the dedicated link in the video description and join the 144,000 chosen one community right now. The hidden attack, the logic of darkness, chosen one. You must internalize a fundamental spiritual principle from this moment forward. Darkness never wastes its energy attacking what is spiritually weak or irrelevant. It focuses its entire attention, its malicious intent, and its manipulative force solely on what poses a genuine threat to its existence. Consider the simple analogy of a fruit tree. People don't bother to throw stones at a barren tree that bears no fruit. They reserve their effort to strike only at the branches that are heavy, full, and abundant with the promise of a harvest. Whether you are consciously aware of it or not, your spirit has been emitting a powerful, unsettling glow, a visible spiritual radiance that has profoundly unsettled someone who is operating from a lower vibrational frequency in your proximity. The attempt to deploy dark or negative energy against you did not originate from some random stranger lurking in the dark corners of the world. It was initiated by someone who has been closely and quietly observing your ascent. This is a person who has monitored your increasing spiritual strength, a person who has sensed your imminent divine elevation long before you even began to speak of it out loud or fully recognize it yourself. The moment any chosen soul steps across the threshold into a new, elevated season of spiritual growth, an immediate ripple effect causes both heavenly and earthly forces to begin to shift and move. Regrettably, this includes the frustrated, fearful, and envious energies emanating from human hearts. You naturally possess and carry a spiritual presence that intrinsically exposes the hearts and true nature of those around you. Without any conscious effort, without uttering a single judgmental word, and without explicitly revealing your own depths, your very essence forces people to confront the uncomfortable truth of who they are, deep within. Some individuals respond to this with genuine admiration and respect. Others immediately react with profound fear and insecurity. And a small but dangerously potent minority respond with a deep, seated resentment, a feeling so strong that they instinctively seek methods, any method, to obscure or extinguish your light, even if they would vehemently deny this intention publicly. Someone decisively registered your recent spiritual shift. They keenly sensed that a significant cascade of blessings was actively forming along your future path. They came to the realization that your periods of isolation were not a divine punishment, but rather a necessary preparation for the next great thing. And instead of choosing to celebrate your impending breakthrough, they instead chose to maliciously interfere with it. They consciously attempted to direct something dark, something immensely heavy, something designed to inject confusion, spiritual weakness, or a critical slowdown into your destiny. While they may not have explicitly labeled their actions as black magic, their underlying intention carried the exact same spiritual poison and destructive effect. When one person harbors silent resentment toward another, that volatile energy does not simply remain inert or neutral. It is a force that intrinsically seeks movement, expression, and outward manifestation. In the physical realm, this may manifest as malicious gossip or talking behind your back. In the emotional sphere, it can be expressed as a secret, persistent desire for your failure. However, when this resentment deepens and becomes a genuine spiritual sickness, it begins to formulate intentions specifically aimed at causing interference with the clear path of the chosen ones. This perfectly explains the strange spiritual pressure you have been sensing surrounding you. This spiritual interference is precisely why your intuition has been vibrating at such a high, persistent alert level recently. You may not have been able to consciously see the exact actions or rituals that were performed, but your spirit, your deepest self, instantly recognized the disturbance and the foreign energy. Chosen ones, by their very nature, are deeply sensitive to any form of spiritual intrusion or interference. You are not fabricating or imagining the persistent, uncomfortable feelings you've been experiencing. That inexplicable fatigue that defies rational explanation, the sudden, unprovoked heaviness that arrives without cause, those moments where your mental clarity feels hazy even when you are physically well, or the unsettling dreams, these are not mere coincidences. Your highly attuned spirit has been actively reacting to a specific, negative energy that was intentionally dispatched toward you. You see, when the darkness attempts to infiltrate the atmosphere of a chosen one, it understands it cannot gain direct, immediate entry. Instead, it must first circle and search for vulnerabilities, a crack in the armor, so to speak. It looks for moments of emotional exhaustion, spiritual distraction, feelings of loneliness, periods of intense stress, or times when you might be momentarily disconnected from your grounding practices, like prayer or meditation. These moments are when the dark interference attempts to make its critical contact. But here is the profound, soul-sustaining truth that you must etch into your memory. Even as dark energy attempts to approach, it never gains full, unmitigated access. Not to a chosen soul, not to someone who is unconditionally covered and sealed by the protection of God. The most insidious and dangerous form of spiritual interference frequently originates from individuals who outwardly pretend to be supportive, yet inwardly harbor deep-seated envy or jealousy. They present a smiling facade while secretly wishing for increased hardship in your life. They speak words of softness and encouragement, but feel fundamentally threatened by your powerful, natural presence. They maintain proximity to you because they are drawn to your unmistakable light, yet their own soul becomes increasingly restless and agitated when near you. And as their envy intensifies to an unbearable degree, they inevitably seek unconventional, darker methods to try and undermine your ascent. Rituals, potent negative intentions, subtle spiritual manipulation, or various forms of emotional sabotage. This specific malicious attempt against you was born from someone afflicted with this silent, gnawing jealousy. Someone who has observed your remarkable spiritual resilience, but knows they can never genuinely match it. Someone who sees the clear evidence of your divine calling, but remains incapable of truly understanding its depth. Someone who resents the profound, undeniable way God favors you, even during your quietest, most humble, or most hidden moments. They covet the blessings you carry, they desire the clarity with which you walk, and they long for the inner peace that so visibly surrounds you. Yet, instead of choosing to seek God's favor for themselves, they malevolently chose to try and disrupt yours. Understand that dark energy is fundamentally not about the physical ritual itself. It is entirely about the devastating intention that fuels it. When an individual harbors an intense, focused desire to block your progress, weaken your spirit, confuse your mind, or completely drain your energy, they are actively creating a spiritual force, whether they fully comprehend the spiritual law or not. Some may utilize physical objects, chants, sacred writings, candles, or various symbols. Others rely on pure, concentrated hatred and focused malice. But the outcome is ultimately the same, a concentrated attempt to introduce disruptive interference into the consecrated path of a chosen one. Chosen one, embrace this deeper truth. The person who sent this destructive energy profoundly underestimated who you fundamentally are. They possess no genuine concept of the impenetrable level of divine protection that surrounds your entire life. They fail to understand the sheer magnitude of spiritual authority that you naturally embody. They mistakenly assume that your quiet demeanor equates to being unguarded. They believe that your choice not to retaliate is a sign of powerlessness. They think that your decision to live in profound humility makes you spiritually vulnerable. But know this, humility is not weakness, and a chosen one's silence is not spiritual emptiness. Your inherent spiritual calm is, in fact, the most potent, powerful shield you possess. When the enemy realizes it cannot successfully attack your physical well-being, it shifts its focus and aims for your spirit and inner peace. When it fails to block the flow of your blessings, it attempts to distract and cloud your mind. When it cannot fundamentally harm your ultimate destiny, it focuses on slowing down your steps, injecting doubt and delay. This explains the feeling of being slightly out of rhythm lately. The attack was deliberately subtle, almost impossible to notice on the immediate surface, yet your highly sensitive spirit instantly intercepted it. Your spirit recognized the fundamental shift in the atmosphere long before your conscious mind could even begin to process the information. That sudden heaviness you felt, that was not an accident, that unexpected wave of mental confusion, that was not your imagination, that moment when you felt strangely distant from your own self, that was the active interference attempting to breach your space. The good news is that it did not fully penetrate you, but it did brush against your spiritual atmosphere, leaving a temporary ripple. And the single most critical reason it failed to penetrate deeper is because God decisively intervened at the exact moment the energy attempted to enter your consecrated space. Dark energy is fundamentally incapable of fully entering the life of a soul who is chosen and set apart. However, it can and will linger around the edges, particularly if you allow yourself to become spiritually depleted or drained. It attempts to pollute your emotions, inject doubt into your thoughts, and severely disrupt your sleep patterns. It tries to whisper corrosive doubt and make you feel utterly alone. It desperately seeks to disconnect you from the powerful anchor of your faith. It strives to convince you that nothing positive is moving or progressing in your life. The entirety of this low vibrational activity is strategically designed to weaken your spirit just enough for the attack to gain a viable opening. But here is the profound, magnificent miracle. Every single attempt orchestrated against you ran directly into the impregnable fortress of God's protection. Every spiritual arrow that was deliberately sent toward you snapped and broke before it could ever reach your soul. Every subtle whisper of darkness was immediately silenced. Every manipulative plan designed to cause you harm was instantly intercepted. You may have experienced the pressure of the attack, but you were never in any genuine danger. You may have sensed the atmosphere shift, but you were never at any real risk. You may have felt the movement of something unseen, but God brought it to an abrupt halt before it could fully deploy. The one who attempted to interfere with your sacred path has fundamentally misunderstood and gravely miscalculated who they have challenged. They mistakenly believe you are standing alone, vulnerable to their influence, but the entire host of heaven stands resolutely behind you. They believe their ritual or their ill intention holds power, but they are completely unaware that your life is permanently sealed by an inviolable divine authority. They see only your human fallibility, not the profound spiritual covering that protects you. They see your physical presence, not the formidable spiritual army that surrounds you. They see your quietness, not your immense spiritual weight. Chosen one, hear me with the full depth of your spirit. This attempt will not, and cannot, succeed. It was never intended or destined to work. God blocked it long before it ever came near your doorstep. However, you need to understand the fundamental reason why the attack was attempted in the first place, so you can fully grasp and prepare for your next spiritual season. You are actively rising, you are rapidly shifting, you are stepping into an unprecedented new level of spiritual influence and anointing. People possess the innate ability to sense this powerful shift upon you even before you vocalize it. And when your personal light begins to genuinely intensify, the shadows are forced to react. When your path becomes unmistakably clear, opposition inevitably appears. When you draw consciously closer to the divine, the darkness immediately panics. Do not allow fear to enter your heart because of this. Do not let this experience shake your spiritual foundation. What is currently happening is not a sign of any inherent weakness. It is irrefutable proof of your immense spiritual power and your inevitable ascension. The attack, in a strange twist of divine irony, served as the ultimate confirmation of your destiny. Now we are ready to move deeper into your empowerment. The signs, how to discern spiritual interference, chosen one, before you allow yourself to descend into self, doubt or overanalyze the feelings you've been grappling with. Listen with focused attention. Your spirit always knows the truth long before your logical mind can catch up and process it. When an attempt is made to interfere with your life through dark intentions, you do not require a visual confirmation of the ritual, the object, the symbol, or even the identity of the person responsible. Your spirit immediately announces the disturbance. Your energy feels it. Your intuition reacts instantly and decisively. Chosen souls are wired on a fundamentally different level. You do not operate purely on physical, sense input. You move with an innate spiritual radar. The instant something unnatural attempts to touch your atmosphere, you sense the disturbance with the clarity of a significant shift in pressure preceding a massive storm. The primary and most frequently reported sign is an abrupt, unprovoked heaviness that arrives without any rational explanation. This is not the typical emotional heaviness associated with sadness or stress, but rather an invisible, spiritual weight pressing down on your entire energy field. You wake up feeling utterly drained despite a full night's sleep. You stand still, but feel like you are physically carrying something foreign that is not yours. This oppressive heaviness tends to linger around your shoulders, your chest, or your mind, and it rarely dissipates easily with simple rest or distraction. It remains silent and strange until you recognize it as an external attachment. Chosen ones acutely feel this because their spirit recognizes that an unwanted, foreign energy has attempted to occupy their space. Another common indicator is sudden, unexplainable fatigue at times when your energy should be at its peak. You could be sitting quietly, engaged in a non-stressful activity, when your body suddenly feels weak, or your eyes become heavy with an unnatural weariness. You may feel an almost irresistible urge to lie down immediately. This is not ordinary physical tiredness. It is the feeling of your personal energy field actively defending itself. When darkness attempts to latch on, your spiritual body must exert significant force to repel and push it away. That intense resistance is often translated into the physical sensation of exhaustion. Then there are the recurring moments of mental confusion, the sudden, opaque mental fog, the significant difficulty focusing even on the simplest of thoughts. It feels as though your mind is clouded, as if an external force is pulling your concentration inward, leaving you momentarily disconnected from clarity. This fog is usually transient, but it is effective in distracting you just enough to disrupt your peaceful inner rhythm. This often occurs when an explicit intention of confusion or blockage was directed toward you. While it cannot penetrate your soul, it brushes against your atmosphere long enough to create a noticeable ripple effect. Chosen souls also frequently experience severe disruptions in their sleep cycle when dark energy attempts to reach them. Not every unsettling dream is a sign of spiritual interference, but there is a clear distinction between a normal, psychological dream and a spiritual disturbance. When someone tries to actively attack your peace, your dream world becomes profoundly unsettled. You might dream of vague shadows, unclear or threatening faces, running without apparent reason, or situations where you feel watched and stalked. At other times, you awaken abruptly in the dead of night with a racing, pounding heartbeat for no logical external reason. You heard no noise, you saw no threat, but your spirit woke you instantly because an attempt was made to cross a boundary into your atmosphere. A further sign is irritability that manifests without any clear origin. You feel unusually annoyed, restless, or impatient. This isn't because of anything anyone has done. It's because your energy field is reacting to an external, irritating push. Chosen ones experience a strong emotional dissonance when darkness tries to approach. The emotion you feel is often not truly yours. It's the external energy attempting to disturb your inner peace. Because you are so spiritually sensitive, you intercept and process this energy very quickly. You might also notice a sudden, inexplicable tension around your head, forehead, or temples. Spiritual interference frequently attempts to create pressure around the mind, knowing that a confused chosen one is far easier to slow down. This tension may feel like a tight band or a subtle, pulsating headache that comes and goes without any medical cause. You may even have the distinct sensation of being stared at, even when you are physically alone. This is your intuition sounding an alarm that your spiritual atmosphere has been touched. A more subtle, yet powerful sign is when your thoughts suddenly pivot toward negative patterns that are completely inconsistent with your usual mindset. Chosen ones possess a natural inclination toward clarity, purpose, and divine awareness, even amidst challenging times. But interference attempts to introduce thoughts that feel intrusive or fundamentally out of alignment with your spirit. You might suddenly and illogically feel like you are failing, even when all evidence points to success. You might feel unworthy, fundamentally unsafe, or uncertain without any rational basis. These thoughts feel distinctly foreign, like they don't belong to your identity, and that is because they truly do not. They are attempts to shake your spiritual grounding. Another key indicator is an increased sensitivity to environments and people. Suddenly, certain places feel off or spiritually contaminated. Certain conversations begin to drain your energy much faster than before. Certain individuals make your spirit feel profoundly uneasy, even if they are acting outwardly friendly. This is your discernment heightening. When interference is attempted, your spirit becomes aggressively alert to any energy it perceives as unsafe. Even if the danger is hidden behind smiles and pleasantries, your spirit knows. Chosen ones may also notice a sudden misalignment in small areas of life, misplaced or lost items, an increase in moments of clumsiness, minor misfortunes that arrive in frustrating clusters, or situations that seem specifically engineered to annoy and frustrate your progress. These are not coincidences. Dark energy attempts to create minor chaos first, hoping to open an emotional doorway. However, because God has blocked the deeper attack, it only manages to manifest as temporary, annoying disturbances that cannot cause lasting harm. One of the most revealing signs is a distinct emotional disconnection. You feel a sense of being slightly outside of yourself, as if your emotions are muted or strangely disconnected from your thoughts. It feels like an external force is attempting to pull your spirit downward, striving to dim your vibrant inner light. This sensation is often misdiagnosed as simple depression or stress, but for a chosen soul, it often signifies that an external, negative energy attempted to latch on was immediately rejected by your powerful spirit and left a temporary, strange energetic imbalance. But perhaps the strongest, most undeniable sign is intuition itself, that quiet, persistent inner voice, that sudden internal alarm bell, that decisive moment when your spirit unequivocally declares, something is wrong, something is fundamentally off, something is trying to reach me. You don't need to know the origin or the sender, because a chosen one does not require knowledge of the source to instantly sense the danger. Your sacred gift of spiritual discernment is an inherent shield that activates and deploys long before any weapon can physically touch you. There is also a clear physical reaction your body may exhibit. You might experience unexplained chills without any temperature change, sudden waves of warmth in your hands or chest, or a persistent tingling sensation across your shoulders and neck. These are unmistakable signs that your spiritual body is actively expelling foreign energy. Many chosen ones report feeling their heart space suddenly expand or powerfully contract. This is the spirit vigorously defending itself by intensely magnifying the light within. Another sign that frequently surprises chosen souls is a sudden, powerful urge to isolate. This isn't rooted in sadness or being overwhelmed, but because your spirit instinctively demands solitude to actively cleanse, recover, and reground away from contaminated environments. This powerful desire to withdraw is not a weakness. It is your profound spiritual intelligence actively protecting your essential core. Sometimes, chosen ones experience a dramatic increase in synchronicities during a spiritual attack. Angel numbers appear more frequently, divine signs become more obvious and pronounced, and spiritual messages seem to manifest everywhere you look. Why? Because when darkness attempts its approach, heaven immediately responds with powerful, overwhelming reassurance. You might witness repeating numerical patterns, receive completely unexpected blessings, or experience powerful moments of clarity directly in the midst of confusion. These divine signals serve as undeniable confirmation that the attack is being closely and personally monitored by God Himself. You may also notice that people begin to act strangely and inexplicably toward you. Someone who previously treated you with respect may suddenly become cold, irritated, or distant. Another person may stare at you longer than normal, with a palpable discomfort in their eyes. Some may aggressively avoid your gaze. Others may try to emotionally provoke you. These reactions are not personal. They happen because your spiritual protection becomes so powerfully amplified during an attack that people aligned with low vibrational forces literally feel that shield and become profoundly uncomfortable in your immediate presence. Chosen one, there is one more subtle sign that many tend to overlook. Your expected blessings may delay slightly, then arrive suddenly with immensely greater force. When dark intentions attempt to block your manifestations, your blessings do not vanish. They simply pause momentarily while God meticulously clears the spiritual interference. That pause can feel profoundly frustrating and confusing, but the inevitable breakthrough that follows immediately confirms a significant prior divine intervention. Many chosen ones mistakenly interpret this pause as a failure, when, in spiritual reality, it is a necessary, deep spiritual cleansing conducted immediately before an elevation. And here is a crucially important sign that only the chosen can truly comprehend. You feel God powerfully pulling you closer. Your spirit becomes acutely more aware of the divine's encompassing presence. You feel subtle guidance, gentle nudges, and inner whispers directing you toward prayer, deep meditation, stillness, or profound reflection. This occurs because when darkness attempts its approach, heaven draws fundamentally nearer to counter it. You simultaneously feel the spiritual pressure of the attack and the absolute spiritual protection of the divine. This dual experience is unique and exclusive to chosen souls. If you have been experiencing multiple of these signs simultaneously, if you have felt the fundamental shift, and if you have deeply sensed the disturbance, then your spirit is confirming the absolute truth. Someone attempted to interfere with your life using dark energy. You did not imagine it. You did not exaggerate it. You sensed it because you are spiritually awake and completely divinely covered. Before we proceed, I want you to pause and deeply acknowledge the power of your own discernment. You knew deep down something was not right. You felt it in your core, and now you know precisely why. If everything I have just described resonates powerfully with your spirit, type the number 333 into the comments to declare that your intuition is fully alive, awake, and absolutely aligned with the authority of heaven. The reason it will fail: God already blocked it, chosen one, before you allow even a flicker of fear to take root in your heart, before you waste another moment worrying about the darkness that tried to breach your space. You must internalize a spiritual truth that is far older, far greater, and infinitely more powerful than anything your enemies could have attempted. What was sent toward you cannot succeed. It will not succeed. It was never, ever destined to succeed. This is not because you are inherently perfect, nor is it because you are untouchable on your own strength. It is because the undeniable hand of God rests upon your life in a way that no amount of dark intention, no matter how focused, can possibly break. Your spirit carries a divine seal that is absolutely impervious to tampering. And every single force aligned with darkness knows this fundamental truth, even if you don't fully realize the extent of it yourself. The very moment an attack is attempted against a chosen soul, heaven responds instantly, before the weapon even has a chance to fully form its shape. God is not reactive. God is profoundly proactive. He does not wait for the arrow to be loosed before deciding to step in. He blocks it, neutralizes it, long before it ever leaves the enemy's hand. This is why chosen ones routinely sense the pressure of an attack, but rarely, if ever, experience the intended destruction. You feel the initial disturbance, but you see no lasting damage. You sense the atmosphere shift, but nothing in your life collapses. You pick up on the negative energy, but your consecrated path remains absolutely protected. That is the definition of divine interception. What was recently attempted against you decisively struck an invisible, impenetrable wall of divine fire. It reached the clear boundary of your spiritual field and was instantly and powerfully repelled. The reason for this is beautifully simple. You do not stand alone. Your life is continuously surrounded by assigned angels who were designated to you even before the moment of your birth. You are spiritually guarded by formidable forces that the enemy cannot perceive but absolutely fears. You walk under a continuous, divine covering that darkness cannot, under any circumstances, penetrate. Even if someone employs complex spiritual rituals, even if someone pours their most intense malicious intent into dark methodologies, even if they focus with all their hatred on bringing harm to your path, they cannot override God's established protection. Darkness may attempt its worst, but it can never, ever conquer what God has personally and eternally claimed. The enemy makes a critical spiritual miscalculation every time it targets a chosen one. They see your momentary human vulnerability, but fail to see your divine protection. They see your quiet humility, but ignore your inherent spiritual authority. They see your temporary fatigue, but are blind to your anointing. They perceive your human side, but completely disregard your divine assignment. They simply cannot grasp the fact that God surrounds you like a total shield that moves ahead of you, beside you, and behind you simultaneously. It is a multi-layered, total protection that the darkness is fundamentally incapable of bypassing. One of the most significant reasons this specific attack failed is because your spirit is wide awake. Even when you feel physically exhausted, even when you feel emotionally burdened, and even when you feel momentarily disconnected, your spirit remains powerfully alert and active. The spirit of a chosen one never truly sleeps. Your physical body may rest, but your spirit remains actively aware. That deep spiritual awareness alone renders dark energy largely ineffective. Darkness thrives in an environment of spiritual ignorance and blindness, but chosen ones live in profound spiritual awareness. You are not blind, you are not unaware, and that awareness automatically strips darkness of its essential power source. A further reason the attack utterly failed is because you are not aligned with the energy of fear. You may experience a feeling of fear temporarily. It is a human emotion, but you fundamentally refuse to become fear. You do not allow fear to define your identity, shape your decisions, or control the direction of your path. Fear creates exploitable spiritual openings. Faith creates impenetrable protection. Even when you feel spiritually shaken, your faith remains powerfully anchored in the divine. That unwavering trust alone creates a barrier that no dark intention has the power to breach. The enemy cannot gain entry into a heart that remains fundamentally anchored in divine trust. Many people severely underestimate the power of true faith. They view it as a simple belief, but spiritually, it is an absolute form of armor. Chosen one, another decisive reason the attack was neutralized is a direct result of your ongoing spiritual growth. You have been quietly and diligently evolving. You have been actively shedding old limiting patterns. You have been purposefully releasing old stagnant energies. You have been healing deep wounds. You have been actively clearing and consecrating your space. You have been deliberately drawing closer to the source. Because of this powerful inner elevation, your spiritual frequency is now vibrating at a level that is simply inaccessible to low vibrational energy. It is the spiritual equivalent of an enemy trying to strike a bird that has already ascended too high into the sky. They cannot reach you because you are no longer operating from the spiritual position you once occupied. The darkness launched an attack based on your old frequency and vibration, but you no longer stand there. You have moved on and up. Let me share a truth that many chosen souls fail to realize. Spiritual elevation always attracts interference, but that same elevation fundamentally increases your protection. As you rise higher, your spiritual armor becomes exponentially stronger. As you grow and mature, your angelic support increases in number and power. As you step deeper and more fully into your purpose, heaven systematically reinforces your shield. The attack failed because your new spiritual season comes equipped with new, stronger protection. What might have caused you distress years ago can no longer touch you today. What may have intimidated your spirit before no longer possesses any authority over you. Your spiritual rank has been elevated, and darkness cannot successfully touch a chosen one whose rank has been divinely raised. The attack was also destined to fail because God has a precise, fixed plan for your life that is currently unfolding with perfect timing. You are not in a stagnant period. You are in a crucial transition, a powerful transformation, a pivotal spiritual breakthrough moment. This is precisely when the darkness tries its absolute hardest, because it senses the magnitude of what is coming. But this is also the very moment when God stands the closest and most attentive. Divine alignment always increases divine defense. Anything sent toward you during this critical time runs head on into the absolute will of God, and nothing in creation can override the will of God. Nothing. No spell, no ritual, no intention, and no words spoken in hatred or malice. God's blueprint for you is fixed, eternally sealed, and absolutely untouchable. A further reason for the failure of the attack is the inherent purity of your heart. Purity possesses profound power. Light possesses infinite power. Integrity possesses unbreakable power. A clean and righteous heart vibrates at a unique frequency that dark energy cannot successfully attach to. Darkness actively seeks out bitterness, resentment, hatred, or unmanaged fear to latch onto. But your heart, even when it has been hurt, remains pure. Even when it has been betrayed, it remains spiritually soft. Even when it has been deeply disappointed, it remains open to the divine. That profound purity is not a weakness, it is a divine shield. It keeps you perfectly aligned with heaven and keeps the darkness confused and repelled. The enemy cannot successfully enter a heart that decisively refuses to mirror the evil that surrounds it. Let me also address one more absolutely critical truth. Darkness cannot overcome a soul who is chosen because your destiny requires your survival. Your unique path requires your continuous presence. Your calling demands your ultimate victory. You have not yet reached the full manifestation of your purpose, which means God will not permit anything to cut your sacred story short. You are in the middle of a continuous, elaborate divine process, and darkness cannot, under any circumstances, interrupt what God Himself is actively constructing. There are still essential things you must accomplish, people you must still meet and touch, specific messages you must still deliver, and significant spiritual work you must still complete. God will not allow any attack to destroy you, because your very life carries a multitude of divine assignments. Another decisive reason the attack failed is that you unknowingly activated your own protection long ago. The prayers you spoke in times past, the desperate moments you cried out to God, the seasons where you maintained your faith even when your heart was breaking and you couldn't see the next step, the countless times you chose good over easy. All of these deliberate choices created powerful, invisible spiritual barriers long before this current moment. Your past faithfulness built your present protection. Darkness did not anticipate that your foundation was this spiritually strong. Chosen one, the failure of this attack is also due to a phenomenon called divine reversal. What was maliciously sent toward you was already redirected back to its sender. This is not because you actively prayed for revenge. It is because spiritual law is absolutely precise and exacting. Energy must return to its point of origin. Intentions, once released, must inevitably circle back to the person who formed them. You did not retaliate, but heaven responded decisively on your behalf. That is why you may soon begin to notice the person who tried to harm you facing unexpected confusion, significant setbacks, or emotional instability. Divine justice is rarely loud, but it is always meticulously precise. Here is one more essential truth you must internalize. Your soul is simply too bright. Light exposes darkness instantly and completely. When the dark energy attempted to attach to you, it instantly encountered your brilliant inner light and was dissolved and repelled. Darkness cannot survive in the concentrated, radiant presence of a chosen one's spirit. Even when you feel weary, your spirit glows brightly. Even when you feel weak, your essence radiates power. You carry an internal divine fire inside you, and fire instantly incinerates anything that attempts to dim its brilliance. There is also the profound truth that angels stood guard. Chosen ones are constantly surrounded by powerful angelic forces assigned specifically to their protection. You may not physically see them, but you can always sense their protective presence. They routinely intervene in your dreams, subtly shift your energy and mood, influence timing, block accidents, alter your immediate environment, abruptly remove negative people, gently nudge your heart, and wake you up at precisely the right moments. These angels intercepted the malicious attack long before it ever came near your person. They formed a cohesive shield around your home, your mind, your spirit, and your path. Darkness fears the power of angels more than anything else it encounters. The attack failed finally because you belong entirely to God, not in a symbolic, abstract way, but in a literal, tangible, spiritual, and covenant-bound way. You are marked, you are chosen, you are protected. Your life is not an arbitrary event. Your path is not unguarded. You walk with undeniable divine authorization, and darkness cannot successfully enter what God has claimed as His own consecrated property. Before we conclude, pause for a necessary moment. Take a deep, cleansing breath. Allow this profound, comforting truth to fully settle into your spirit. You are perfectly safe. You are unconditionally covered. You are entirely protected. You are infinitely stronger than the attack. You are vibrating at a higher frequency than the dark intention. You are utterly beyond the reach of the one who tried to cause you harm. The return to sender, spiritual boomerang chosen one, now that you possess the clear understanding of precisely why the attack against you failed, it is time to turn our attention to what happens next, not to you, but to the person who initiated the dark energy. Many people fail to comprehend that spiritual energy operates under a set of laws that are just as strict and unyielding as the physical laws of nature. When someone throws a stone into the air, the law of gravity dictates that it must eventually fall back down. When someone pushes with force against a solid wall, the physical pressure equally pushes back. And when someone sends dark, negative intentions toward a chosen one, those same malicious intentions immediately begin circling like a spiritual boomerang until they return to the precise hands that release them. This is not a matter of divine revenge. This is not a form of deliberate punishment. This is simply spiritual law in action. Every single intention released into the universe inherently carries a destination. And when that negative energy cannot successfully gain entry into the life of a chosen one, it must, by law, seek its original source. The very moment the attacker attempted to interfere with your consecrated path, they were, in effect, signing their own spiritual release form. They set a destructive mechanism in motion that they are now powerless to stop. They attempted to sabotage your deep inner peace, but in doing so, they only fractured their own. They tried to send confusion toward your mind, but confusion now heavily blankets their own spiritual atmosphere. They tried to dim your light, but that darkness now hovers over their own path like a relentless, unwelcome shadow. Chosen souls are protected by an inevitable spiritual echo. Whatever is malevolently thrown at you echoes back to the sender with increased force. If someone speaks a curse against you, the curse powerfully rebounds. If someone meticulously plots your downfall, their intricate plan collapses squarely onto their own feet. If someone tries to block your progress, they inevitably end up blocking only themselves. This is why God instructs the chosen to remain calm, stay spiritually silent, and maintain their perfect alignment. You are not required to retaliate or seek vengeance. The law of return is already working tirelessly on your behalf, executing perfect spiritual justice. The person who attempted this spiritual interference against you catastrophically underestimated the spiritual law of reflection. Any energy you project outward must be returned to you, frequently amplified by the universe itself. When you consistently project goodness, blessings return to you multiplied. When you project darkness and malice, the painful consequences return to you intensified. The individual who tried to harm you is now inevitably walking directly into the destructive energy they themselves created. They meticulously built a spiritual trap, unknowingly designing it for their own eventual downfall. They unlocked a door that leads absolutely nowhere but back to their own emotional and spiritual collapse. What is now beginning to happen to them is fundamentally not about you. It is entirely about the severe spiritual imbalance they created. The universe simply does not permit spiritual imbalance to linger or persist. Every force exerted must be precisely matched. Every negative action must be conclusively answered. Your powerful, uncompromising divine protection forced the malicious energy to execute a sharp U-turn. The very instant it encountered your protective shield, it reversed its direction immediately. This reversal is often not visible to the naked eye, but it is always active and precise. The attacker may begin to face inexplicable difficulties they cannot account for. They may experience pronounced emotional instability, sudden financial strain, unforeseen conflicts, or uncharacteristic misfortune.